Hey guys, it's Jason. Hope you're doing well. So I want to follow up to my initial video that I sent a while back on my MLB predictions for the team standings, and that was pre-trading deadlines. And now I'm going to do my follow-up video, which is my predictions for where the teams are going to wind up at the end of the season post-trading deadline. Now I will eventually do a postseason prediction video as well, but as of now, we don't really know the brackets and things like that in terms with the expanded playoff format and who's going to be, what seed and so on and so forth. So until it doesn't make any sense to do it right now, until the brackets come out, because I might have these two teams playing each other now and they don't play each other in the first round, so it may not make sense. But once the season's over and the playoff bracket has been established, I will do a prediction video on that. But today I want to go over my post-trading deadline predictions for every team, every division in both leagues. Okay. By the way, if this is your first time to this channel, welcome. Okay. Don't want to decapitate myself here. If you enjoy good baseball content and things like that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Take a look at all the videos that I put out already, 100 plus, and don't miss any new ones I'm going to be putting out moving forward either. Because after this one, I'm going to do my updated predictions on Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, MVP. Okay, so make sure you hit that bell next to the subscribe button. And even if you don't plan on subscribing, would greatly appreciate it if you at the very least hit the thumbs up on any of my videos that you watch, and you watch them in their entirety. It's just very helpful towards helping towards making the channel grow. I want to make this into one of the best channels out there, so it would mean a lot. It would be greatly appreciated. Why don't we get to it? Okay, we'll start up here with the NL East. Okay, take a look at my other videos so you can compare my first one with this one, because now that the dust is settled, teams have made moves, not made moves. Certain teams are underperforming, certain teams are performing way to hell over their expectations, and a lot of stuff has happened since the beginning of the season. So, particularly with a lot of games being canceled due to COVID, and it's a little chaotic. But take a look at it. It's in the description down below. That way you can compare it to see, what it looks like. So, let's get to it. Let's start with the NL East. Okay, I won't really tell you what I had before. I'm just going to tell you what I have now, because I want you to take a look at the other video so you can see the transition from one to the next. But we'll start here. Washington Nationals in 5th place, defending world champs. Yeah, I see them missing the postseason. They stink right now, unfortunately. Even though they brought in a lot of ammunition, some of those guys that they lost, like Rendon, it's really hurting them. So, even though they brought in some good players, Strasburg is unfortunately out for the season, so that stinks. I think he had wrist surgery. I'm not sure if it was carpal tunnel related or whatnot, but Scherzer's his usual stud self. Corbin's decent right now, but aside from that, they're just underperforming, unfortunately. This is a surprise team to me, who I thought would be in last place, but isn't. Miami Marlins. And I can actually see them leapfrogging the 3rd place team potentially, and maybe putting themselves in a position to make the postseason. I have them in 4th right now, but finishing 4th, so they can go up a little bit more. They can go down a little bit more. Until they've proven that they can really sustain, the over performance that they've been doing recently. I'll keep them there right now, but I would not be surprised if they make it to the postseason. Okay. Yeah. 3rd place, New York Mets. Underwhelming. They made some moves in the offseason. I mean, at the trading deadline. Some solid incremental moves, but, losing Noah Syndergaard, Thor hurt, and Tommy John surgery, that really hurt their rotation. And they've had some injuries in their rotation as well. Stroman, it's kind of like the Yankees. Rotations, a bunch of it's decimated due to injuries, unfortunately. 2nd place, the Atlanta Braves. Young, dynamic team. Would I be surprised if they won the division? No. But I do think they're either a year away or another piece away. I was hoping that they would trade for somebody like Chris Bryant at the deadline, but it was pretty clear that costs were, for a lot of the bigger players, were way too high, or prohibitive spending right now, because you're not really knowing what the situation is going to be next year with fans and so on and so forth. So I have them finishing in 2nd, which means I had the Philadelphia Phillies winning the NL East. They revamped their bullpen at the trading deadline, brought in 4 dudes, and their lineup is pretty stacked, and I think they're starting to click on most of the cylinders, and I can see them. I can actually see them making a run in the playoffs. And they're a dangerous team, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see how they fare. We'll see how they fare. But right now, I have them winning the division. Let's move over to the NL Central. Fifth place, got Pittsburgh Pirates. They're just not going anywhere right now, unfortunately. They traded away a couple guys. Nothing of significance. Well, actually, they traded one of their pitchers, Tatis, Cincinnati Reds, I think it was, which was a relatively solid move. If I remember correctly, interdivision move, but they're just not. They're not hacking it this year. I was hoping that they were going to trade Josh Bell to a contender to get a lot of prospect capital in return, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. So I've got them finishing last. In fourth, Milwaukee Brewers. They did trade away David Phelps to the Phillies, actually, one of their four guys. I was hoping that they were going to trade away Josh Hader to also restock the farm. They're like on the borderline of contending and not contending. So, but I can't really see them finishing any higher than fourth, unfortunately, because the top three I think is going to be a pretty competitive division. The third place being St. Louis. They're just outside the top two in my opinion, but they have enough firepower to compete for the division. If they, when these guys go on runs, they generally go on pretty good runs. So, but I have them finishing third, unfortunately. This is my surprise, actually. I have Cincinnati finishing second. I do have them making the postseason. Okay, because that lineup, it's just they've put in way too much. They've done way too much, and it's just they're not clicking on all cylinders yet. But I do think they're going to, and their lineup is kind of built in. Their rotation is a scary three-man rotation. I don't know if I want to face them in round one, and win best of three or best of five round. I don't know if I want to face them. But with that said, the surprise to me in the division is the Chicago Cubs. They're surprisingly really good. And I have them winning the division. Again, I thought they were going to trade Chris Bryant, but maybe it was a blessing in disguise. They didn't trade him away. They're going to keep him. They brought in a couple of incremental pieces for their bullpen and their lineup that will likely incrementally make them better. So they're my pick to win the NL Central. Let's go to the NL West. A lot of familiar faces here. Arizona Diamondbacks. They traded away Robbie Ray and Starling Marte. I just can't see them getting out of the gutter or finishing out of the cellar. They're kind of in the start of rebuild mode. They still have some solid players over there, some good, solid young guys. But I think with those two trades, it kind of signals that they're going to start the beginning of a reshuffling of that team and a rebuilding of that team. So, and they got some prospect capital back, but that said, I can't see them doing anything more than last place this year. Fourth place, Colorado Rockies. They surprised me too. I thought they had, there was a chance of them trading away Nolan Arenado because he wants out. Maybe it'll happen in the offseason. But again, the same situation where budgets are constrained right now because of fans not being there, teams not making revenue, aside from maybe TV networks and stuff like that. And they have a lot of good players. From Blackmon to Story to Arenado to John Gray. I thought John Gray was going to be a trade candidate as well, but things just didn't come to fruition, unfortunately. And I just can't see them finishing out of fourth place, which is surprising to me because I thought San Francisco was going to finish lower, but they're playing surprisingly well. Even losing Madison Bumgarner and a couple other guys, they're my surprise team right now, and I have them finishing third place, just outside the postseason. Okay. Second place, San Diego. They were the winners of the trading deadline. They were one of the winners of the offseason as well. But the trading deadline, bringing all the guys that they brought in, Mike Clevenger, Mitch Moreland, and a bunch of other guys. You see Castro, they added bullpen, rotation, and lineup, and defense. Okay, and they gave up a good handful, but none of them were their top 5 prospects. That's impressive. Okay, I see them closing the gap, but I don't see them yet catching the Los Angeles Dodgers. Would I be surprised if they did? A little bit, but I do think they have the potential to do that. So I would not sleep on the San Diego Padres just yet. But I have the LA Dodgers. They're just way too stacked. That lineup's way too good. Their rotation's way too good. Everything about Los Angeles Dodgers just is, perennial World Series contender. And until they're knocked off that level by a team like San Diego, they're going to keep winning that division. So that's my National League. Why don't we move down to the American League? Let me see if I can switch to this side here. Oh, yeah. There we go. Okay, mix it up a little bit. Straighten this out. Give me 1 second. Straighten it out a little bit. There we go. Okay. AL East. All right. Unfortunately, the Boston Red Sox, they suck. But anyway, they're trading away guys. Traded away Mitch Moreland. Got some some prospects back. They got a lot of prospect capital back in the Mookie Betts, David Price trade, particularly Alex Verdugo. So they're going to kind of be undergoing that slow rebuild as well. But don't be surprised if they're competing for the division or a World Series in the next 3 or 4 years, because that's what they kind of do. So, but they give up a lot. They gutted their farm to get Chris Sale. He's going to be coming back from Tommy John. Some of their other pitchers were decimated by injuries too this year, unfortunately. So it's a rough year for them. But at the very least, if they finish this low, they'll get a very high draft pick. Maybe bring in somebody good for the future. So, 4th place, surprisingly too, I have Baltimore finishing in 4th place. I never thought I'd have them finishing above Boston or any one of these other teams, but I do. It's unfortunate, but this is another team that's kind of over playing its expectations. They have some young players, developing guys, playing well. Even though they traded away a couple dudes. This is a team that's, again, slowly kind of adding their high draft picks, Adley Rutschman and some of these other guys, where I think they'll be somewhat competitive, or more competitive over the next couple of years. But as of right now, they're not finishing any higher than 4th. 3rd place, this team's on the cusp, obviously, Toronto. They're on the cusp of competing for a division in the postseason. I would not be surprised if they made the postseason this year, and they were very aggressive at the trading deadline as well. They brought in several pitchers. They're the team that got Robbie Ray. They brought in Jonathan Villar. They got another pitcher, and they did well. I was impressed with their moves, and they're obviously going for it. So, but right now I'm finishing in 2nd because the top 2 teams I think are a notch above my team, the New York Yankees. I wish I would have them finishing 1st, but I don't, unfortunately, because they're decimated with injuries. Do I think they'll make the postseason? Yes, but they need to come back to health. They need some guys to perform. Gary Sanchez hasn't been performing. A lot of these other guys have been underperforming. So we need them to be consistent. But we've got Judge out, Stanton out, Torres out. Severino's out for the whole year. Tommy Conley is a bullpen piece out for the full year. Okay. I was hoping that they were going to bring in a starter and a reliever at the deadline, but they didn't. Prices were way too high, but it is what it is. And winning the division, I have the Tampa Bay Rays. They just look way too good. They're my American League version of the Dodgers, except without the major marquee names the Dodgers have. This lineup is just filled. It reminds me of the Oakland A's. They do a lot with a little, and it's really impressive. And it's unfortunate that we're in the same division. We have to play them 10 times this year, and they went 8-2 against us. That sucks. So, but they scare me. Tampa Bay scares me, and I do have them winning the AL East now, whereas I didn't before. So, unfortunately. Let's move over to the AL Central. Last place, Kansas City Royals. Traded away one of their relievers with Trevor Rosenthal. Got a prospect or 2 back. I thought they might have been in a position to trade Whit Merrifield to get a lot of prospect capital back, but they kept him. My guess they'll likely re-sign Alex Gordon. They have a couple other young guys. I was surprised they didn't trade Danny Duffy and gotten some prospects back either to kind of start a rebuild, but they haven't, and because of that, I have them finishing last. I can't see them finishing higher than that. So, which is surprising because Detroit's in the same division. I thought Detroit was going to finish last and Kansas City 4th, but I actually see Detroit finishing 4th. They're kind of a little bit of ahead of Kansas City where they're starting to bring in those high draft picks that they've earned over the last couple of years for being such a crappy team. And they're starting, like Casey Mize and some of these other guys, are starting to incorporate them and let them into the major leagues to complement pitchers like Matthew Boyd and Michael Fulmer, who are unfortunately underperforming. These guys are going to kind of be the next generation of young players. You have an aging Miguel Cabrera, but he still hits. And they have some other guys over there as well. I see them finishing 4th. The next three teams, I mean, I think this is probably going to be the tightest I've ever seen. Um, Maybe between within one game for the whole entire three. So I have Minnesota finishing third. They made a couple of additions, or they made a lot of additions in the offseason. I think they made one at the deadline. Don't really remember how significant it was, but it was nothing like a needle mover or anything like that, like San Diego's. But their lineup has also been hurt by injuries. But at fully stacked lineup, that team's going to be very, very hard to beat. Which leads me to my next team, which would I be surprised if Chicago White Sox won the division? No, because of what they did in that lineup that they have. That lineup is crazy stacked with a lot of talent, veterans with young guys. I can see them winning the division. But right now, the hot team, I mean, it's really hot. Cleveland Indians, I have them winning the Central. Even though they traded away Mike Clevenger, one of their aces, I see them actually getting better. And they restocked their farm. They brought in a bunch of prospect capital just in the Clevenger trade. Which is good. It's a good move for them. I give them an A grade at the deadline. Would I be surprised if Chicago won the division? No. Or Minnesota? No. But I have those three guys finishing probably within one game of each other, and I can see all of them going to the postseason. And I wouldn't want to be playing one of these guys in the first round. I just wouldn't. So that's the Central. Let's go over to the West. Okay, last but not least. All right, fifth place. I see a rebuilding Seattle finishing there. They still have a couple young guys from Seager and some of these other guys, Kalenic, some young, developing budding superstars, but they're not there yet. They traded away some guys. They need a lot of pieces to be able to compete right now in the West, so I have them finishing last. My surprise, I have the LA Angels, even though they're in last right now. I have them kind of having a strong finish to the season with Trout and Rendon and Ohtani and Joe Adele, and keeping Dylan Bundy. I think it's going to actually help them rather than hurt them. I have them leapfrogging the Seattle Mariners and finishing fourth in the division. There's too much talent in that lineup for them to suck that bad. Third place, Texas Rangers. I could see them finishing higher, but I would be surprised if they finish past the next two teams. I thought they were going to trade away Lance Lynn. They didn't. I thought they did trade away Mike Minor. My personal opinion is they should have traded him last year and gotten more back from him, but they're kind of in the same situation now with Lance Lynn. But one of the reasons they couldn't trade Lynn is because the price tag was so high. And after that Clevenger trade, Cleveland got so much back for him. The package expectation shot up so much, and I think it may have shot him in the foot a little bit. And they asked for way too much for Lance Lynn, who's 4 or 5 years older and not as dominant as Mike Clevenger, but it is what it is, unfortunately. So I have them finishing third. Second place, Houston Astros. Still a talented team. They're struggling this year. It makes me happy to kind of see that because I kind of feel like a little bit of karma is happening. But I don't want to see guys to get hurt, have their careers derailed. But it's nice to see them not dominating their division. Now, would I be surprised if they missed the playoffs? No. Do I hope they miss the playoffs? Yes. Okay, that's just my heart as a Yankee fan. But I see them finishing second and making the postseason. And the first place I have Oakland A's winning that division. They are way too good. They're like the Tampa Bay. They're like remind me of Tampa Bay. Not like big superstar names. You got Marcus Semien and some of these other guys, but like they don't have the name pedigree of a Mike Trout or a Nolan Arenado or Paul Goldschmidt or these guys. But their lineup is fearsome. Okay, and they added Mike Minor, an incremental pitching piece. Might he help? Yes. Will he hurt? No. But that team is way too good to not win at the American League West. I can't see Houston winning the division the way that Oakland's playing right now. So these are my predictions post-trading deadline based on what these teams have done. Let me know what you think. Watch the other video down below, okay, so you see the difference between the two. And make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to see my next video, which is going to be my updated predictions again on award winners, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, and MVP. And if you want to see my playoff predictions at the end of the season, make sure you hit that bell too, okay? Other than that, I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will talk to you next time.